All right, so everyone, it's so lovely to see you all, and welcome to our webinar, Quantum Teams, a new paradigm for collaboration. We're very excited to be here and present this groundbreaking material. It's really great to see all of those who could join us. And just a note that because quite a few of those who signed in couldn't attend the live webinar, we were asked to record it. So we will send a recording to everyone. If you're watching the recording and have questions, just reach out. And of course, we'll have time at the end of the webinar for your questions. So we'll leave a nice amount of time. So over to you, Hagith.
So, hello everyone. I'm Hagith Malul. I'm an organizational psychologist. I bring about 25 years of extensive and diverse experience from global and scale-up companies. My experience spans from HR executive roles to leading business development, technology, and innovation teams and processes. About 2.5 years ago, I founded Lead to Quantum, a consulting business to optimize the business and the human potential of organizations, inspired by the principles of quantum mechanics. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague and friend of nearly 40 years. Oh my God, I think this year it's actually exactly 40 years. So, Shirah.
No, thank you. How wonderful 40 years it has been. Thank you, Hagith. So my name is Shirah Shulman. I live in Sydney, Australia, quite far. I'm a psychotherapist. I have a private practice. I also have a BA in International Business and Communication and an MBA. And in my professional background, I actually worked as a regional marketing manager and then as a career relation manager in telecommunication companies before changing. Working with Hagit has been wonderful for me because it allows me to combine my two passions, working with organizations and applying psychotherapeutic modalities.
Thank you, Shirah. So, the agenda for today. So, the classic physics, we'll start right from the physics, taught us that everything in our world is made of particles and everything is separated. Yes, there are a little bit of waves, but most of the world is made out of particles. So most of the organizations were built accordingly and are based on boundaries, controls, silos, and divisions. And this leads to burnout as well as many, many other challenges that you're all familiar with. So we know today that we need to evolve our perspective in order to deal with current challenges, and we will explore what can be done differently today.
Mm. Yes, what we're going to do is present systemic and holistic perspectives. We're going to look at systems within systems. We're going to look at the individual, the team, teams within the organization, and the organization within its ecosystem. And we will present to you with a new paradigm for structure, communication, of course, conflict management, and how do we resolve complexities. And we will do that by presenting the quantum teams and IFS. And when we combined our experiences and knowledge of theory, we actually found that when we look at the way that our own internal system is organized and managed as human beings, it was very similar to the way we would like to build and organize a quantum team.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and the holistic way that we look at different systems and the systemic model perceives us as individuals as a whole entity that contain parts, and the same as the team that contains team members, and then the organization that contains units, and etc., etc. So this holistic view is, for me, it's fascinating.
Exactly.
So, as some of you know me, I love innovative ideas, but mostly I love to see them work in practice. So, the use case we'll share with you is taken from my work at eBay. And when I managed a few of the innovation tech teams that led computer vision, fashion experience, and pricing analytics domains, when we look at the bottom line, which is so important at the end of the day, you can see that all our business goals were met, and the innovation teams became part of eBay's global initiatives, as we brought a lot of business value both to the internal and external customers. There was also 94% of satisfaction rate, which was outstanding, and no voluntary attrition. And also when you walked in the corridors, you could hear the special buzz coming out of this team, something that has to do with a very, very high energy and passion. So we're going to cover some theory in 2 slides only, and then move to the, practically, or how practically form a quantum team. So we will not deep dive today to the quantum mechanics principles and its philosophy that guided me in managing those teams, but you can reach me later and find it in the website, or I'll send you the full session about it if you're interested. Briefly, I'd like to share with you a few principles. So the first one is the fact that in quantum physics, we are not external to the world. We are observers and we impact the world. So in terms of leadership, this is a very, very important insights in which it is important that we take the responsibility of what's going on. There are infinite possibilities. There are infinite waves of possibilities. And when we focus on one option, that one is manifests. There is also no objective reality because we as observers, we interfere the reality. And that is very, very important. We'll talk about it today, about how to manage, the business when there is no one objective or one single truth. Superposition. We are not in either or world. We are in both. Today's complexities and paradoxes, we have to start looking at the reality as multidimensional that coexist at the same time. And entanglement, everything is connected. Yes, not always we see it with our eyes, but we understand that we have to adopt today a holistic approach. For example, when you go to the forest, you can see individual trees. This is what we see. But today we know that beneath that, there is a whole amazing world, a network of fungus and that transform and connect between the information and the nutritions and help each other. And then usually we don't see it, but it exists.
How fascinating, Hagith. I always love listening to you speaking about it. And it's such a different way of thinking, and yet it is so relevant to the current way of work and what we experience, right? So now I'm going to introduce to you IFS, Internal Family System. I assume some or most of you have not heard about it before. And IFS has been really revolutionizing the organizational leadership world at the moment. And it is a groundbreaking and evidence-based approach that was originally developed for personal therapy. And IFS sees your mind as a family of distinct parts, each with its own personality, emotions, and motivation. And having different parts is normal. It's a part of the human experience. We all have it. Our parts, they can hold clashing beliefs and agendas. For example, let's say that you're in a conference and you see a person and you say to yourself, oh my God, I really, really want to go and talk to that person. I really want to do that. But then another part jumps and stops you and you freeze. And that part in your head says, what are you doing? That person will not be interested in you. But come on, just stay, stop, avoid. So this part is trying to protect you, probably from feeling rejected or embarrassed. And maybe this part remembers other times that you felt this way. And all of your parts are trying to help you in their own way. No parts have bad intention. None of them is really bad. But they don't see the whole picture. And sometimes their actions are not benefiting us. And how do you know when a part took over? This is really important. Um, some examples I can give you is if you find that you have a really narrow focus or that your thinking is rigid, um, and for example, like some examples can be self-judgment or judgment of others, worrying that takes over, perfectionism, acting from anger, like, words come out of your mouth without you meaning them, a need to please, a really strong need to please, or even a sudden urge to quit. These are all parts that are acting with the good intention of protecting you, just to avoid feeling pain. And a key goal of IFS is to help us recognize our parts and unblend for them so they are not in control. And how do we do that? We do that by being in a state of what we call self-leadership. That's self with a capital S. At the center of all is yourself. It's a calm and compassionate leader, and it's waiting to take charge. We're all born with the self, but as life happens, different parts are created, and then they may take over because they try to protect you from experiencing pain, like the example before, pain of rejection, which I assume at least a few of you can resonate with. And when we're in self, we're not acting from our parts. There's a list of words here. We are calm, we're curious, we're centered, we experience clarity of thought, compassion towards ourselves and others, confident, connected, courageous. And how do we achieve that? By using curiosity over judgment or anger or avoidance. And what do I mean by that? I mean that instead of suppressing or rejecting your part, IFS encourage you to be curious towards them until we reach deep understanding. And what happens then? Then we don't feel fear, we don't feel anger, we feel less internal judgment towards ourselves. We don't hate ourselves for how we reacted, for what we thought, for how we felt. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? We have more softness inside. And this self-leadership allows us to validate the parts, to try to understand them. And it goes such a long way. It's so nice for all of us, including all our parts, to be acknowledged, to be validated, to go, yeah, I hear you, I understand your point. Even if we don't agree, at least there's this sense of being understood, being listened to. What happens then internally, but also externally, when we are with others, is we can let go of the walls of protection. We don't need to push people away. We don't need to prove that we are right all the time. And we're going to talk more about that later. And just quickly, if we apply to organizations, then getting to know and understanding our parts lead to better management of our emotions and reactions in the workplace. So we have a clearer communication, we're much more open, we make decisions better, and we improve collaborations with others.
Shirah, thank you so much. And this is fascinating as well. I love the word understanding that you used several times. Quantum teams are acting from awareness. and we can see the parts in ourselves and learn how to best manage those. Also as team members in a team, while the self is kind of the leader of the team, right?
Yep, exactly right.
So what we're going to cover today, what makes the team a team quantum. So I know that many of you would say it doesn't fit all teams. Maybe that's true, right? Quantum team performs best when it's created around strategic initiative, significant challenge that we need to solve, something in a critical path in the organization. Best would be that it's self-organized and even spontaneous team. The roles and responsibilities are evolving. This team gets full autonomy and thus accountability. The team is measured also by group goals. It is very important that the team experiences safety and learns how to feel and experience safety of collaborating with other teams. It always has a, by definition, high passion and energy. And it's not only, nicey-nicey, because there are always healthy conflicts that we need to manage effectively and also deal with uncertainty that is a significant aspect of our lives today. So let's start with the strategy. So yes, it's kind of, you would say it's a trivial that we always connect our teams to this strategy. We have all hands meeting, we have town halls, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about kind of internalizing it on a daily basis. There is a significant importance in connecting us to a higher meaning. We are not a tree in the forest, and our employees are not trees in the forest. We need to feel that we're connected to something that is bigger than ourselves, and that we, as individuals or a team, we bring direct value to a strategic goal. When we sense this, our sense of empowerment and meaningfulness is increased. And you know that those emotions increase our energy and to drive anything and solve any challenge. We tend to focus, obviously, on ongoing stuff daily. So I really encourage you to regularly connect your teamwork to a higher meaning of the organization. I would like to read you a quote from one of the managers that were in my team, the quantum team. And she said, firstly, we realized that something was not right. Once we asked what was the problem, we changed our viewpoint from internal one to and directed it towards the customer. Instead of working in silo, we expanded our viewpoint to the company level. When there is no transparency about problems in the company, we remain working in isolation, and you are not measuring on strategic and broad impact. You are left small and limited. Roles and responsibilities, this is very important. How does it mostly work today? So we write a job description, which is naturally fixed, and when we ensure that the R&R are as structured and clear as possible. And yes, that's important. But in quantum team, we do it a bit differently. We ensure the employees know that R&R are evolving in two aspects. The first one, that we learn what is the brilliance and strengths of the individuals in our team, and we ensure that the roles and responsibilities fit those strength and brilliance, not the opposite. The tasks and the role are adjusted to match the talent not the opposite. That sounds revolutionary, maybe. This is one aspect. The second aspect is that we ensure that the team members know that in advance that they should sometimes step out of their formal role and help each other as needed to ensure team success. Now it's very similar to what is expected in small startups, right? This is the same vibe. I'll share with you an example, from my experience. When I became at eBay chief of staff, my manager, it was kind of clear that I need to also manage the budget, and the budget was huge, really significant budget. And this is not my strength. I can do it, yeah, I can do it pretty well, but this is not my strength. And my manager, the GM, said, it's pity to waste your precious time on something you are not as good at. I want to enjoy your brilliance in every working hour that you have. So let's keep this budget management with another leadership team member who is really passionate about it. He used to work on the Excels at night, coming in the morning, and he was kind of excited. Wow, I found some savings. So for him, that was his passion. And yes, I stepped out of my ego, and this is formally my role in order for both of us to be in our brilliance. So another quote from a team member. One of the managers was visionary, and I am very practical and know how to make things happen. We realized that we complement each other. You arranged us in such a way that each person expressed their unique strengths. And this is a conscious work.
Fantastic. I just want to add before we move on that, when we're not in our brilliance, when we only fulfill a role that's not based on our passion and talents, and I'm speaking from experience as well as experience of others, we can feel a burnout. We feel a sense of dissatisfaction. We don't wake up in the morning and go, yes, we don't get out of bed with this joy and excitement. We might even develop a depression. And, I've met quite a few people who struggle with that. And when we are allowed to shine, we are so much happier, we're much more productive. And to go with what I said before, our parts are happier and relaxed, and we feel much more fulfilled.
Yes, Shira, thank you. Absolutely. I think that still most of the organizations are focused on improving employees, fixing them, working on their weaknesses rather than really enjoying their brilliance. And that's a good, thank you. So moving to the accountability, so many managers complain to us that the team doesn't hold themselves accountable enough. So, it evolves sometimes to blame game with other teams, and sometimes it becomes really ugly. And everything starts from the way we manage our team. Look at this equation. When we reduce a tight control and trust our employees more and more that they can do it, we increase their sense of accountability and engagement.
In theory, that's great, but Hagit, it could be easier said than done. What if a manager is anxious, or they don't want to, let go of their responsibility, or they just wouldn't trust their people? Then how do we do that? Well, now we have this tool, right? We have IFS. So what we do is we help them by meeting the anxious parts. We help them explore with curiosity, as I said before. What is the worry? What's the concern? What's difficult there? And some examples of that we had from managers that we worked with were, what if I lose my job? What if I'm held responsible for the fail? These parts will be strong enough to not allow us let go of control. Once we work through that, and when the manager is able to step away, then something beautiful happens. The place becomes available, and the employee will step in and become responsible and accountable. But for that, they must feel trusted.
Absolutely. And you don't do it in one shot. We develop a step-by-step process that enables the manager to let go slowly but surely, build a strong enough infrastructure of knowledge, knowing that even if it might be different than his way of doing things, it can still be good enough. I think we started this process with the pandemic, and it's very important that we continue strengthening this direction in the organizations and with our teams. I would like to share with you a few aspects of perceiving the team as a whole. The quantum team would usually build itself. In real life, usually we don't build teams from scratch, but when we grow, yes, we'd like to allow the team members to work with people that they enjoy working with and not being forced, and being forced on. When I am forced to work with someone that is kind of not my cup of tea, then I do the minimal possible. And when I choose to work with someone, then it's the maximum possible. I'm talking about situations that this choice can be done, of course. And how do we choose? There are two parameters that are so important in my view. One, we have to have same personal values. I would like to work with people that share the same personal values as I do. Second one is professional appreciation. I need to appreciate them as professional, experts. And so this is one point. Another point is that today we measure performance in organizations mostly on the individual level. Again, this is based on the classic physics and Western capitalism that believe that we are all separated. This encourages competition that is not always healthy. But in quantum teams, we would like to encourage strong and deep teamwork. So we'll measure mostly team success and encourage the culture where people would help and support and complete each other. Also, I'd like to say that when we set goals, then in the leadership level, yes, there will be numbers. Of course, it's a business. But in teams level, it will always be stories that are based on value. A story that I can share with my friends proudly when I meet them and bring them on board to the organization. And today, still, this is not what we experience in most of the organizations. Still, we cascade the numbers. I think it's also interesting that when I work with managers as part of leadership development programs, the managers are surprised to hear that their team as a whole is a resource, not only their employees. How come they can create so much more value when working together, and the team members can help each other without approaching the manager all the time. So the manager is finally free to do their things that they should be doing and don't have enough time, right? To plan, to think strategically, and all the things that they always complain that they don't have time. This is a resource. And equality as a value in the team. No one, remember, holds the absolute truth. There is no superior and no inferior.
Right. And I'd like to add about how we are organized internally and how, the team of our parts is a whole. So internally, each one of our parts relate to one another. The parts are, if you want to imagine like a bulb of garlic, and the parts are organized around each other like that. And they each offer a perspective, and they each offer us by fulfilling different role. And, that's how they help. So just like all team members are valuable, there is value to all of our parts, despite the differences. And sometimes they're clashing opinions. Um, for example, I'm thinking about a critic part, it likes to feel like we're right in arguments. We all have one, surely. And this part is as valid and as important as our collaborative part that wants harmony. So we'll have, two different voices in our head. When we accept that, we learn that each part has a valid opinion. Our parts can relax inside and learn to collaborate instead of continuously clashing.
Um, Fully agree. And how is it reflected in organizations? Most of the organizations and most of the meetings that we participated, we argue to death. And we try to prove our points and we try to convince each other. I'm going to state that this is 9, and I'm absolutely certain that this is 9. And I'll take a picture of it, I'll bring you data, and I'll prove that this is 9. And you're going to say from your experience and from your knowledge and the way that you perceive the data, you're going to say, this is 6, this is not 9. And we can, argue. And who is right? Both are right. Now, maybe instead of fighting and arguing about it, we can create a new number that you can see here in the slide, which is amazing number in my view. Of course, there is someone in the room who is paid to make a decision at the end of the day. This person needs to listen to all the different perspectives, like a kaleidoscope of perspective, and make a decision. But not because someone holds the absolute truth, but because I understand the variety of perspectives, and now I need to make a decision. So I encourage you to ask yourselves, who is mostly speaking in your large meetings? Who are the vocal ones, who are mostly extrovert and drive the discussions? Or do you actually ensure that each and every team member is being heard and seen, feeling that their opinion matters to you? If they are silent, ask what their opinion is. If it matters, you increase their sense of meaningfulness and value, and as a result, increase the engagement level and their performance.
Right. So how do we create the safety? We mentioned safety quite a few times. How do we actually create that? By acknowledging that all opinions are valid. And that creates the safety, really, because if my opinion is valid and nobody fights me, but I'm being listened to, then I can relax and talk and express. And because quantum teams cannot succeed while working in silos, um, safety is really important because people need to collaborate. They need to feel trusted. The team members, they must feel trusted by their manager. They need to trust each other, and they need to trust that it's safe to collaborate with other teams, which I'm sure so many of you know can be difficult, but we must do it. And maybe just an idea, if we change the perspective and see it as a self-developing journey, for example, we can have a completely different experience. So what do we do? We start by noticing how we perceive others. Other teams. Are they the enemy? Are they safe to work with? We have to start discussing these things openly, because if we don't discuss them, we're going to behave it. So we are going to be suspicious and not want to collaborate. And we found the following three steps helpful in creating safety in collaboration. Step one was we worked on increasing trust between the manager and the employee. The second step, we focus on empowering the team and ensuring that they feel confident in their mission. And the third step was we allow or encourage collaboration with another team. So we no longer work in silo. Only when we feel valued and supported by our manager, we'll be able to share knowledge, partner with each other, and remove the focus from our ego and shift towards a collaborative mode. And if we look at creating safety internally, then instead of avoiding, judging, or rejecting parts of ourselves, which can lead to a sense of inner friction, we learn to fully accept all parts of ourselves. Then we can relax and experience a much more wholesome way of being.
You know, Shira, when I managed my quantum team, I really loved and accepted them as they are. I didn't try to change them, judge them, or fix them. We were focusing on self-development. We nurture, believe in them, coach, and ensure they are in their brilliance. It doesn't mean that those who didn't fit were not laid off. They were laid off. I'm talking about those who were chosen to be part of the team. And also, I would like to share with you an example that, as a leader, when there was a conflict with another team, I stopped everything. And we as a team, we discussed what's going on. What do we feel? What are our motives? What can be changed? Looking at all our parts, are we intimidated now, angry, frustrated? We looked at the way that we explain and interpret it, maybe the reality, and we suggested alternatives. Remember, we have infinite possibilities that can be manifest. So one of the most powerful tools that made a difference is suggesting another interpretation to the same reality. So for example, I remember the other team sent us an email and asked for information about a new project that we were kind of secretly developing. The immediate response of the team was, oh my God, they want to take over our project. And team's initial response was defensive and aggressive. And when we are in self-leaderships and not react from our worried parts, we can think of a possibility that the other team maybe wants to collaborate with us, not necessarily take over. So the response would be completely different. And in our case, just for your curiosity, it led to a fruitful leadership. So we are taking ownership on relationships and how we manage them.
Mm. And it might sound like we're describing a utopic space in the organization, and we are fully aware that conflicts happen. But the way we manage conflict is different. We don't look at it as a bug. We're not scared of it. We look at it as a signal. It's a signal that something needs to be done. And maybe there's a lack of communication, of acknowledgement, a need to see and name something. We don't get scared of a conflict. We manage it with clarity, with calmness, and we develop curiosity, just like we do internally with our parts. We recognize that our colleagues also have multiple internal parts that influence their behavior. This understanding by itself, this can reduce conflict and it can build a much more supportive team environment. And when we learn to identify and address the specific parts that are engaged during a conflict, like parts that are defensive or scared, like Hagith mentioned before, then we can enjoy a much more peaceful conversation and find solutions together.
Yeah, I found that many times it's useless to approach a conflict with the cognitive dimension
Hmm.
only, and bring facts and data. Remember the slide about the 9 and 6? It doesn't work. We have to understand what parts and needs of the other teams is not being met. What are the emotional triggers to the conflict, and relate to those ones.
Hmm.
So my role as a manager is consciously excite the team about the uncertainty that is our reality today more than ever. We can define the direction together and set clear intention, but how do we actually get there? The path is always iterative, flexible, agile, and responsive. By nature, it embraces uncertainty as an essential part of our journey. We trust our team to be able to face any challenge and uncertainty. Um, so instead of approaching the unknown with fear, like, oh, what's going to happen? We replace it with curiosity, as Shira mentioned previously. Interesting. What's going to happen?
And I think that the trick is to notice that I'm afraid or that there's fear and to not be afraid of being afraid.
Mhm. That's right. And if we work with teams' brilliance, then we trust them to face any challenge together rather than, rather than trying to predict the future. So the four human dimensions model we developed at Lito Quantum is an important tool for increasing the team's energy. And we have a separate session about that. Again, if you're interested, reach out. But just to summarize it, because it is important, according to resilience theories of leadership, energetic management of employees is the organization's most significant assets because time is limited, energy is unlimited. In a certain 1 unit of time, someone can produce X, and another person with higher energy can produce 3X. The four human dimensions that we need to nurture and balance in every in a very precise way, and it's very dynamic. It changes from time to time. Those are the four human dimensions: the physical, cognitive, emotional, and self-fulfillment. The physical is related to all the physical needs of the employees, including, compensation, salary, working environment. It also includes the availability and remote work aspects. The cognitive, all the professional aspects. How much am I challenged? Solving complex issues, learning new things, etc. Emotional. Can I, as an employee, express all my rainbow of emotions in a safe way? If so, I can also be creative and innovative. It's a must have for innovation. Self-fulfillment. How much am I self-fulfilled? How much do I feel meaningful and valued, as well as connected to the company's values? So I think that by now you got it, that the self, the manager, needs to manage quantum teams a bit different than the classic one. The value of this leader comes from being an enabler, holding the big picture and connecting the dots between the strategy and the team, the leadership team, and the team, the different parts of the organization, ensuring that the connection, the connectivity is smooth and healthy. The manager is expert, is in reading the field. The field is the seen and unseen, above the surface and below the surface, the said and the behaved. And when the relationship is based on trust, then the feedback that is ongoing, provided on an ongoing basis, is done with a deep care, curiosity, and openness. The self, the manager, the leader, as Shirah mentioned before, based on the IFS model, is based on curiosity. He's curious, he's compassionate, he's validating, he's confident, and holding the big system, accepting all parts, leading to a deep sense of trust.
Mm. This is so fascinating, and I love how these two connect. And I just like to read this beautiful quote from one of the managers in the quantum team that you managed at eBay, Hagith. I found it beautiful. So it says, "You didn't tell us what to do. We felt empowered because we answered your questions ourselves. We knew that you would always have our back if we made a mistake. We felt comfortable asking for your help. Previously, in other groups, if a mistake was made, there was humiliation in front of the entire group. This made me stay in my smallest space."
Thank you. Thank you, Shia. So we would like to start summarizing the session with the elementary stages of Quantum Team Foundation. We start with choosing a mission that requires a quantum leap, connected to a broader strategic goal. The team is involved in its creation as much as possible. Get to know the team members and their brilliance. Create a culture that enables flexibility around roles and responsibility, and it's open and on the table all the time. Meeting basic psychological needs, the need to feel as an individual unique, being seen and heard, feeling that I belong to something that is bigger than me, the team, the company level, the strategy. So I influence and bring a meaning and value in my work, and creating a wave of organizational influence throughout connectivity.
Thank you, Hagi, and thank you everyone for listening. Now we have a few minutes for your questions. Just before, we'd like to present to you our offering. And as you can see, quantum teams and IFS really can help create a work environment that supports personal growth and harmony, which are essential for productive outcome and an engaging workplace. And how do we make it happen? Well, we offer the following. We offer consulting and intervention. And by intervention, we mean helping you build the quantum team, or if there's a team that needs to become quantum, or a team that needs an intervention due to conflicts, or conflict within teams, between them. We develop programs for managers and workshops that are tailored to your specific needs. There's lectures and one-on-one coaching, and you can find it all in the website.
So before opening the session to your insights, thoughts, and questions, I'd like to suggest that you share this recorded session with any leader that you believe may benefit from it.